Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 50, why we quit teaching in the public school systems to start teaching about intuitive awareness. So in this episode, you're going to learn all about why we even got into the education industry to begin with, and why we started our own businesses in order to spread intuitive awareness. I hope you enjoy the show.
Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. I can't believe we're already on episode 50. This is crazy. Today's episode is really going to be about how we left teaching in the school system, the public school system, and went into teaching about intuitive awareness.
Yes, and I love this. I love this episode because this is really going to give everybody who listens to us and the people who are listening to us for the first time insight into why we even do this podcast, for one, and where we come from, like in the space of education.
Yeah.
And why we even started in that to begin with.
Exactly. And I feel like it's so important to talk about education and what's important and how we should be teaching our children in this world. Because the children are our future, and there's so much power behind children and what they can teach us. So we noticed a pattern. So I should probably start by sharing, I used to be a third grade teacher. I am from Boston. Went to college at University of Tampa, got my undergraduate and my master's degree at UT. And then I love teaching. I was teaching for 7 years in the system. And one of the things that I noticed there were the kids were so sensitive. And as time went on, I found the curriculum change a lot from the day that I started to the day that I left. And it changed from being very hands-on and being able to get up and walk around and engage. And yes, they still did it 7 years in, but it changed to a lot of testing. And a lot of the kids that were labeled ADHD actually just had a different learning style, and they didn't want to be confined into a box and put in a seat.
Absolutely. I noticed the same exact thing. I didn't teach in elementary, although I did because of my internships. I was in a kindergarten class. And then I was in a ESC type setting where it was still in elementary, and I did K through 5, kindergarten through 5th grade. And my internship, so I know exactly what Lindsay's saying when she's talking about the kids being tested. And this is throughout K through 12, but I noticed a huge thing in elementary with this.
Yeah.
Where the kids were like, I remember one year I was in my internship, and I started in January and I ended in April. And literally for, I think, 3 of those months, they were testing almost every week, probably 85-90% of the weeks, it seemed. Some kind of testing. It was either like state testing or local testing or the school testing or like, and I was just, I didn't even know what to think, really.
I know. And I feel like the teachers, as a teacher, and the energy and the climate of that atmosphere of being in the school, you feel the pressure from the district. So the district puts the pressure on the principals. The principal puts them on the team leaders. The team leaders puts it out, to share with the classroom teachers. And what happens is that goes and trickles down to the kids. So how can you work under pressure when the school is labeled as an A school, a B school, a C school, and then the kids are coming in from all different backgrounds in living situations that we can't even imagine being in their homes, some of them.
Right.
I know my kids, they came from a neighborhood where there was gun shooting. At a certain time at night, they had to come inside and they weren't allowed to go out to play after dinner because of the shootings.
You even found a gun shell, right? Or a kid brought a gun shell one day.
Yeah, one of my little girls came in and she was all excited to show me the gold
or
that
a bullet
she found.
shell, I meant.
Yeah. So she actually said, Miss Marino, look at the gold that I found in the neighborhood, and it was a bullet shell. So it's sad, but the point of me saying this is because we need to teach about intuitive development rather than stress environments that come up when it comes to the school system.
Absolutely, because we have everybody's kids for 6, 7, 8 hours every day, and I was just blown away about how much time was wasted on testing and really like a lot of other things that I personally didn't believe in. It was just like old school way of teaching. So just so everybody knows, where I ended up teaching at was a special eds, basically a mental health center. My school was connected to a mental health center, and it was a special education, and it was 6th grade through 12th grade, because I had to teach all grades because we only had 30 kids at the entire school. And I loved it. I had so much fulfillment from teaching at Mendez Exceptional Center. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And the experience I got out of it is priceless, and I would never change it. And I absolutely believe in education. I love education. I love that I went to college. I went to college at the University of South Florida.
And you got Teacher of the Year because
Yes.
your heart and soul was in it.
It was, and it's because I love it. And when you do what you love doing, you end up excelling in it, and it's pretty easy for you. I felt like I had to work a lot less to get that compared to somebody else who, I saw a lot of people working harder than me that weren't really getting far with the students and everything. And, that's why you really got to get in where you fit in. You got to like find out what you love doing and do that. And I love teaching, and I'm so grateful for the experience. And I would suggest everybody, really not everybody to go to college, but there's a lot of negative talk about college, which I understand, with the amount of money they're charging and everything. But I'm a big believer in education, and I really value my time that I spent at the University of South Florida. I really value it.
Yeah. We were just having a conversation with someone, and I feel like my experience with going to college and living at the dorm was an experience in itself. And then also when I was doing my internship, I found like that was very powerful. But there's certain jobs where you might not have to go to college. When you're doing film, we were just talking to our videographer about how he felt like more being in the field was actually more powerful than sitting in a class, which is that's so true in certain situations.
For every industry, I think.
Yeah,
for the most
definitely.
part, except for some situations where you might have to know like certain things before you even start.
Right.
Like being a firefighter or something, you have to practice.
Yeah. But I feel like the point of this episode that's so important is that we loved teaching, definitely. But I found my psychic medium business was taking off. First, it was just me doing this for people for free, giving readings and that sort of thing. And then it changed over time, and I started to realize it was getting very busy, and I had to choose. Okay, am I going to choose doing this work, or am I going to choose being in the public school system? And for me, I wanted that freedom, and I started to really develop a belief system of what I thought education should look like, and it didn't look like what I was sitting in as a teacher. And I started to find myself getting bored or getting antsy and energetically drained. I would say the last year, I felt more like, okay, something's shifting. It was sad to leave.
Very sad.
But something was shifting where I knew like the last year or two, okay, my mediumship business and my psychic development is really kind of overpowering. And some of you may know the story, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the story, but for me personally, I always thought that I was going to retire as a teacher, went to college to be a teacher, knew I was going to do something with real estate on the side. I always felt like I wanted to buy properties and rent them out and that sort of thing. But it was when Nick passed away, someone that at the time that I planned on marrying, it was after that everything started to uncover for me. And I started to connect the dots with spirituality since I was a little girl. So I was always extra sensitive to energy, but that situation really was a pivotal moment in my life where I felt like everything catapulted and my life was flipped upside down, but then at the same time it was kind of put right side up. And then I met Tony and we came together. So we were both studying about spirituality, and then we came together and met in the middle. It was like we met at the perfect time. We were doing all this learning about spirituality, and then coming together and having that same intention is so important.
Yeah, it was, and then when we came together, Lindsay was teaching. It was in 2010 of December we started to talk on the phone, and Lindsay was teaching 3rd grade at the time. She was not doing her psychic medium business at all. Like she said, she was still giving readings, but not as a career. Me personally, before that, I came across the law of attraction in 2008, and that's what I was studying more. I wasn't studying more like the afterlife and psychic medium. I didn't really even look into that much. Or intuition, I looked into a little bit, like with Napoleon Hill, it's a book Think and Grow Rich, and other books that would mention it, but I wasn't really open to that. I was more focused on the law of attraction and the law of vibration. So it opened up my mind, and when I met Lindsay is when I started to take on the intuition, psychic mediumship, and I started to realize that my entire life I was highly intuitive.
Yeah.
And this is one of my gifts that was a double-edged sword. So in school, I would go inside and I hated being inside all day. I was like, thank God when PE hit. Like when it was like fifth period or whatever, I'm like, yes, I could go outside. Oh, and the fluorescent lights, everything. The energy of a high school is an empath. And I didn't know this looking back. So my story goes a little bit farther back. Right now I'm 31 years old. And when I was 21, when I came across the law of attraction, immediately I said in my mind, I'm going to have a human potential company one day. I just knew. I always loved teaching information to people. Even before this, it was basketball, sports, nutrition, anything that I found valuable. So I already had that teacher thing inside of me. And then when I came across the law of attraction in 2008, that's when I knew that I was going to be a teacher for human potential. I never thought that I would be a teacher in the public school systems. That happened after I met and started talking to Lindsay in 2010 of December. Right when we talked on the phone that night, I knew that I had, because at the time, so real quickly at the time, I was almost halfway done with my college degree, but I didn't really have a major. But at that moment, I knew that I was going to major in education, get my degree in education, and become a teacher in the public school system, because I knew in my heart that was my next move. And I also knew that I was going to move from St. Louis, where I was living in the moment, and move to Tampa, Florida, to where Lindsay was. Which brings us to where we are today and what we've been talking about, how we both taught. So I taught in the public school systems for 3 years. I actually ended up quitting in 2017. In May. I'm losing track of time. Yeah,
the time.
It was May 2017.
I feel like it was like last year.
And I felt the exact same as what Lindsay felt. I felt like the best way I could describe it is, and I got this from, it was about my last week teaching. One of the assistant teachers came up to me and she said something. Yeah, Tony, we're planting seeds and everything with the kids over in the garden over here, and we had to switch out the pots because the plant was outgrowing it. And right when she said it, like I got chills right now.
Yeah, me too.
Right when she said it, I knew it was the universe or God talking to me saying, hey, it's confirming that your choice is the right choice. You outgrew this. Because at the time, like Lindsay said, I was teacher of the year that year. I started a coffee business inside the school that was getting recognized. Inside the school district, it was getting recognized, and it was very successful. And why would you leave something when you're at your peak? Well, because I was following my intuition, and I knew inside my heart that it was time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're so.
Well, no,
I know you're getting emotional because
it's a good thing. I love it.
I know,
yeah.
And I feel like because it's real,
yeah.
And that's why this is happening.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
But I think it's good for people to experience because and that's the perfect example. Like you can leave on top if you're doing something that you love. You can still leave on top because you know that your soul has something else in front of it. Like there's a reason you felt that pull.
Right. And there's a reason you felt that pull.
And I'm glad you listened because now we're able to travel, to teach others, to teach people around different places, like wherever they are in the world, whether it's online or in person. And I think that's so important to trust that intuitive sense. And I feel like our goal in the end, our intention is to teach the children because we both love children. And that's our passion. Like when I'd rather hang out with a kid than an adult any day. Because I
would too a lot of the times.
Because the kids actually are highly in tuned, they don't have a filter, and they're just
authentic, as cliche as it sounds.
Yeah,
I feel like they're
tainted to the idea of what society should look like. They don't really care. They're just like, this is who I am, this is what it is.
They're showing you real corners of the universe.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing an authentic, real corner of what it looks like. And it's like,
But see, this is the thing. Like when I first left teaching, I remember having dreams, getting offers to come back into the school system. And it was like this moment of like this tug of war. And I remember one dream, I was back in there and I was substitute teaching, and they said, can you stay a little bit longer? And I said yes to them. And I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I saying yes? Because it was so easy to go back into it. And even thinking about driving by, sometimes like I drive by an area to get actually to a crystal shop, one of the schools that I taught at. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, I can't believe I'm driving past the school and I'm not teaching in the school, because I did it for a lot of, my time after graduating. But I just wish we could go in there and teach the kids really about intuition, because energy is the thing that we need to be teaching them. And I actually did do that.
You go.
I did that when I was teaching. Yeah. There were certain moments we would have class meetings when we were allowed to have them, and we would talk about our feelings, and we would pass around, like, I don't know if it was a stuffed animal or something, I would pass around a pointer to say, okay, it's your turn to talk. And then there were moments I actually had them make vision boards. When I first started, I didn't call them vision boards, but I said your intention and your goals for when you leave here, when you grow up, what is your intention? And they would cut out the names of the colleges or the things that they wanted to do after. And then I also would have them write affirmations to put in their pockets for tests, and talk to them about the power behind water and how the Emoto philosophy of water, and what you say and what you talk about is actually what's going to show up. So I infused it in there, but you had to word it a certain way when you're in the system.
Yeah, you definitely have to word it. You have to be careful, just because you're dealing with other people's kids, and then these kids have parents who have beliefs, and a lot of the stuff that we believe might shock the parents' beliefs, and then it's all of that going on. And like Lindsay said, she was splattering vision boards and teaching about intuition and Dr. Emoto and all of these different things inside the school systems, and I was doing the same thing. And I was showing my kids different videos. At the beginning of each class, I'd show like a 1-minute video of some kind of celebrity or well-known person they know, giving them some kind of life skill advice, because I knew that they would listen to that person, and then we could feed off of it, and that's what we did. So I was able to do stuff like that too in the system. But the whole time I was working in the school system, the thought in my mind every day when I was driving to work was, I'm a teacher, I'm taking care of kids, and the whole point of this whole process and system is to educate. And what do we mean by educate? To give people skills that they can apply in life so they can have a successful life, emotionally, physically, relationship-wise, right? Isn't that the point of education? So the more I thought about that, and then the more I saw what was actually going on in the system most of the time, like the testing, and like the bubble test, scantrons, and you have to do this much English and this much math and this much. And I was thinking, a lot of that stuff's valuable, but I'm thinking, where is the relationship 101 class? Where is the emotional development or whatever, emotional intelligence 101 class? Where is the business 101 class, to where every kid takes it? Psychology class, where are all these classes? And I'm not saying these are all the best classes, but I'm thinking we've updated a lot of systems throughout time, and for some reason the school system's one of those systems that we're slowly updating here in the United States, and it's way behind. And
they're updating the system in a way that's completely backwards. They're taking away art class and limiting to it one time a week, or PE one time a week, instead of, they should be running around having recess.
So one of the schools I interned at was an elementary school, and we'll call it, just to be straightforward, like a poor part of town. And it was a low-performing elementary school. So you know what they did? Since these kids were low-performing, they took away, I believe it was recess or PE, one of those two things, and added an extra hour for them to read every day. And it was the most, for me, I'm not even a kid, and I can imagine the energy the kid has. I have a lot of energy. It was hard for me interning at that school, because we're like inside all day and like closed in, and it's like this, you felt like this tension, like Lindsay said, it bleeds over from the principals, or from the superintendents, the principals, down to the teachers, down to the students, and it was like this big pressure cooker. And I'm like thinking, whew. So you can only take so much of that. I'm not knocking education all the way. There's a lot of good people in education. There's a lot of good things going on. But I personally knew that it was time for me to branch out and to teach people life skills, the best life skills that I've ever learned. And the best life skills that I've ever learned is about intuition, which helps you make decisions, helps you tune into yourself, helps you tune into other people's energy to where should I make a deal with this person? Should I be friends with this person? It's about psychic mediumship development for me personally. I feel and I know how valuable that is when someone passes away here on Earth. Yeah. And you could communicate to them still and reconnect. So I look at it as the same way as if like somebody who's alive here that I haven't seen for 2 years, but I love hanging out with, and we meet up on a random island and we're like, that reconnection feeling, that's what I get when I reconnect to spirit on the other side.
And it's funny because when you're saying that, I know you're so excited to tell this part, what you're saying, but I have to say this. It just reminded me of Jerry the other day when we were sitting in the car, and Tony has a friend named Jerry, and I feel like even though I met him, I don't know how many times, like 2 or 3 times, I feel like he's my good friend now too because we talk to him so much.
He comes through so much to Lindsay.
Yeah, but we were in the car and I'm like, have you talked to Jerry lately? And Tony's like, the other day I did. I was thinking.
So it's been maybe like a week.
If anyone ever heard this conversation that didn't know about this stuff, they'd be like, what the heck are you talking about?
Absolutely.
But that's how it is.
But it's true.
And it's our life. In there.
And you know how hard it was for me to go to school every day and teach and see other kids in my class who are psychic mediums and psychic, and they're being fed drugs from the mental health center and from their family. Not saying that the people working at the mental health center are bad people. They're not. It's just the system, and it's the way of it is. And I'm thinking, I have this information and I can't do nothing about it right now. I know,
and then you're sitting in, it's almost like sitting in a lie, like working in a job that not all of it all the way is real.
And I have so many stories about specific things that these kids did that proved to me they were psychics and mediums.
Me too.
Which throughout these episodes you've heard throughout these last 50, I shared it several different times.
Yeah.
And I would share it now, but we're running out of time. So what is that?
I want to say the last thing, when we were talking about school system, I strongly believe that someone can't take in information for 8 hours straight. I feel like they should be cutting the day in half to 4-hour days. And this is a teacher, coming from a teacher.
Yeah.
But this is something that I believe. I have a 2-hour limit for me personally. I actually notice an hour limit where if I'm sitting still and learning, I need to get up, walk around, take a little break and a breather, and then come back. But I feel like 4 hours is the max that kids should be learning.
Absolutely.
And also they can learn having fun through art. That's actually a form of meditation right there, doing art. PE, that's getting the mind, body, and soul energy flow. So these are things that, it's something to think about. And I feel like there's not all schools are not like this. Some schools are very good with having playtime and that sort of thing, but this is one of the reasons why we had to leave, because the business was so busy for me, but also I couldn't be in a place that I wasn't fully on board with it either. So it's like I didn't realize that till after though.
Right. And it doesn't mean that, like Lindsay's saying, there's a lot of good going in there. Even in the schools we were at, there's a lot of good teachers that were doing a lot of good things. Like I had teachers at my school I was at that were like, this one math teacher, she was just always constantly creating these awesome lessons for the kids, like moving them around, getting them up, getting them outside. So there's a lot of good things going on in there. But it's just, at your job. I
wish they could add intuitive stuff to it. Like directly talk about that. What are you feeling in your body? But let's see if you can see energy and this sort of thing.
Yes, and it will be there one day. And we're going to create more education products that people could buy from us, on a privately, not in the public school systems. Maybe one day we could get them in there. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But until then, we'll do what we can do. So you think we should close this out?
Yeah. I think that if you have ever been a teacher or you've experienced this as a parent and you had some aha moments by listening to this or anything that you want to share about what we've talked about, share with us. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you for writing your reviews and spreading this podcast, because our goal and our intention is for many, many people to see it and hear it and learn from it.
Right, because it's a cycle. It's like you have the parents listen to it, and then it trickles down to the kids. You have the kids listen to it, and it keeps on going.
Yeah.
And we just want to continue that. So
we can have a whole nother episode on psychic kids again, because we actually did an episode on psychic kids. So check that out too.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.